Hi, I'm Sarah Jelinek, and welcome to Tech Tips with Sarah. And here's this week's tech tip for you. Alright, let's take a look at some of my favorite shortcuts working with Microsoft Outlook. Now, one of the first things I do when I'm processing my email messages is, of course, I read them and I find out if there's any I need to keep in my inbox. So in this example, I happen to see this message about a virtual coffee chat that we're going to have. I'm going to hit my Enter key just to open this message up when I'm looking at it within the inbox to display it in a full view. Now, as I'm going through my messages, one of the first things I do is determine, do I need to keep this message anymore? And in this example, if I'm looking at the message in full detail, if I don't need it anymore, my delete key isn't going to work. So I use CTRL+D, as in Control Delete. I have the control to delete that message, as it doesn't mean anything to me anymore, or I've got some action I'm going to do on another message instead. So here's another example that we have as another message pertaining to that same chain, and this is the last one in that conversation. And now I want to be able to reply to this message. So one of my favorite shortcuts here is, again, I'm still working on my keyboard, CTRL+R is to reply. Now, notice what happens when I just reply. It's going to reply just to Rose. This is a chat with Rose and Edith and myself. So I really don't want to do that. So I'm just going to discard this message. And when I want to reply, it's actually CTRL+R to reply. But if I want to reply all, it's another keyboard shortcut. And the reason that is another keyboard shortcut is usually you don't want to do a reply all because there might be people that don't need to see that message. You don't need to kind of inundate everybody with those messages. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. So the keyboard shortcut for reply all is going to be CTRL+SHIFT+R. And that will allow me to reply to everybody on the thread. So if you're trying to remember that and you remember CTRL+R but you can't remember the other keyboard shortcut, just think CTRL+SHIFT+R. I want to send this shift to everybody. It's a little weird, I know, but that's one way I can remember it. And then, of course, I can send that message, thanks, works for me. Now, I'm getting ready to send my message. Instead of taking my hands off my keyboard and going to my mouse and moving it up to that send button, I'm going to hit send. Now, to do this, most people would think Control+S, right? Control+R, Control+Shift+R, Control+D, why not Control+S? Well, Control+S will just save that message for you in your drafts. As you can see, now my drafts is showing that I have a message here. To actually send, you'll click Alt+S. And Alt+S is your keyboard shortcut for sending. Now, great, we've gone through a couple of shortcuts here. Let's talk about two of my other favorite ones. Now, I've got a message here about free snacks in the virtual break room. Woohoo! I don't need this anymore. I've read it. It's good. I want to delete it. So I hit my delete key on my keyboard. But look what happens. I now have something showing in my deleted items as unread. I've technically read the email, but Outlook doesn't know that. So I'm going to use Control+Z to undo that last action I did. Now, when you are on a message like this and you want Outlook to mark it as read, there's a keyboard shortcut for it. And it's Control+Q. So when I do Control+Q, it will mark it as read. So if you're wondering why Control+Q, I think of it as I want to control this. I want it to quit reminding me that I have not read this message. Don't make it look like I'm not doing my job. So Control+Q, and of course I can do a Control+D after that to delete the message. Now, my final one that we're looking at here is going to be organizing your messages. So if this is something you don't want to delete, if it's something that you just want to keep for reference, you have the ability to save those messages. So I've read this message, I'm going to mark it as Control+Q, and I want to move this to another folder. So if you do Control+Shift+V, I want to send this shift somewhere else, and the V is I want to paste it to another folder. I'm going to bring up my Move Items folder dialog here, so I can see all the different folders I have. I'm going to move this to my Reference folder because I do want to keep this for later, and I can click OK. That one does work with your mouse a little bit, but it's a great way for you to organize your messages. And of course I can Control+D and that'll take care of it. Now, I'm at inbox 0. My final keyboard shortcut is when you are the one that's going to initiate that contact is Control+N. Control+N will compose a new email message for you. And then of course you can start typing and send your message away using your Alt+S. Hope these keyboard shortcuts helped you. I know they help me a lot when I'm trying to process my messages. And the great thing is not only do some of these work within they all work in the Outlook client, but some of them also work in your Outlook web access. So using your Outlook webmail, a lot of these keyboard shortcuts will work there. So hopefully this will help you process your email a little bit better and keep that communication going with your friends, your coworkers, and whomever you want to communicate with in the world. I hope you found that tech tip helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at connect@sarahjelinek.com or check out sarahjelinek.com for more tech tips.